Hey everyone, John here from Cast and Spear, and today we have back on the podcast Johnny Harville, who's going to be talking about two topics today. The first one is about trout fishing tips, and especially around the bull trout, as well as why it is at risk for being endangered and what people are doing to help bring them back. Then he's going to get into some of his favorite gear that he uses to catch bass and catfish down in Alabama. So if these topics interest you, get ready, you're in for a treat.
Trout fishing is a very interesting sport. More often than not, you find yourself wading in the water with the fish. This is especially true if you're fly fishing. So when you hook one, it's not that unusual for them to actually charge you. As I wrote in the Trout Fishing Tips article, these are very hard fighting fish and they are definitely a rush to catch. The best place to find the larger trout is around large rocks where the water is moving. Trout require more oxygen-rich water, and that's usually the reason that you'll find them around large boulders and rocks where water is flowing at a little bit swifter pace. The water is much more oxygen-rich in that area. One thing that really struck me as interesting when I wrote the trout article is that the bull trout is actually on the threatened list and is almost on the verge of extinction. One of the things that's causing this is the release of hybrid trout from farms. They're causing several problems. They mature and breed at a much faster rate than the native bull trout do. Then they feed on the offspring of the native bull trout. Another is that if the hybrid breeds with the native bull trout, 9 times out of 10 the offspring are sterile. That, combined with dams being built and changes in the waterways that block the bull trout's migration routes, is driving them into extinction. One of the biggest things going on now to help the bull trout is that most states have adopted a very strict catch and release only policy, and conservationists are opening up new routes for the bull trout to be able to migrate when it becomes spawn season.
Here Johnny gets into his favorite gear setup for catching bass and catfish.
When it comes to gear, especially around here where we fish, you just can't beat an ugly stick GX2 6-foot pole. That, combined with the Cast King White Max reel, it'll handle just about anything you throw at it. The line of choice that we use is a Cast King 17-pound fluorocoat. It's been tested many times and it's never failed. I use this combination for catfishing as well as bass fishing. It's just pretty much all around go-to. It has never failed to land anything that I've ever caught, and we've caught some pretty large catfish. The 5:3 to 1 gear ratio of the White Max reel is probably my favorite because it's just fast enough for swim baits and top water baits. But it's also slow enough to hop and drag crawfish baits along the bottom. So it really does everything that you want it to do. And when you go and fish in some of the areas that we fish, you really can't carry a whole bunch of different combinations. So you need something that'll handle just about anything. Just a few weeks ago, we were out fishing for bass, and we ended up catching gar. So in the creeks that run where we fish and the larger lakes, you really never know what you're going to encounter. So you want to have something that is strong enough to do the job, but yet something that you're comfortable with using.
Well, that does it for this episode of the podcast. Tell me, how are we doing? Please go to castandspear.com/contact and let me know. I want to make sure that I'm covering everything that you want to be hearing about in regards to fishing and what guests you would like to see on the podcast. We have a whole bunch of awesome experts coming and scheduled, but I want to know if there's somebody that I need to interview and bring on. I need to know about them. You need to tell me. So also, if you haven't already done so, please share this with your friends. Tell them word of mouth is awesome. Or even better, go to iTunes and leave a comment and a review. Let me know what you want to hear on this thing. And with that, keep those lines tight, everyone. See ya.